I just find that hysterical. I love that it lets us know they're recording. All right.
It actually tells you whether you want to continue or not, too.
I know. Yeah. I saw it the other day when it happened when Bree was running. So, all right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Mindset Zoom. I love that I have the opportunity to share with you guys some things that are on my heart on Thursday mornings. And so we've been talking about this idea of 7 mindsets, right? And so the last 2 weeks, we talked about the first of the 7 mindsets, which is everything is possible, right? We talked about this idea that I can do all things. I can do it. If I dream it, I can do it. Right? I think of that when I think of that quote, that everything is possible. All right, so today we're going to move into, thank you. Today we're going to move into the second of the 7 mindsets. And the second one talks about something that we hear all the time. I can't see, I see Lon. If you build it, they will come. Yeah, it's such a great quote, right? So we're going to talk about the second of the 7 mindsets today, which is passion, right? We hear that all the time. Live your passion, find your passion, do what you're passionate about. But what does that mean? What does that look like? If you are able to put in the chat or to respond, type, I want you to type a 1 if you have ever been like, I don't know how to know what my passions are. I don't always know what I'm passionate about. Especially, I think, as moms, we are pulled in so many different directions that we're just like brain overload, right? So you may have seen my post this week. Ellis started cheer for the very first time. And what is interesting is she is super, super excited about this. And I was thinking about this week as I was thinking about this idea of passion and identifying our passions and living our passions, because she's doing that. She is coming home every single day. She is practicing what she's learning, and she's only been in for 2 classes. But she is super passionate about that. How many times, though, as adults, do we lose that excitement? We start to go through the mundane, the everyday tasks, and we lose the excitement for what set our heart on fire at one point. Anybody relate? Anybody like with me on this? Because I know that this happens to me all the time. So when we're thinking of this passion first mindset, we're thinking about a way to kind of focus on our strengths, take a look at what's interesting us, what is important to us, what do we find value, make that a priority, and stay true to ourselves. Those are the 4 critical components to this idea of passion first. The passion first mindset teaches us that we're all unique, right? We all have this thing that makes us special. What sets my heart on fire isn't the same thing that's going to set Bree's heart on fire, isn't the same thing that's going to set Ashley's heart on fire, or Angie or Lonnie or anybody else on this call. Does that mean that we don't have common interests? No, of course. No, please go get your phone. Just because I lost my train of thought all the time, Ella.
You're talking about what my...
Just because we have common interests, or just because our passions are different, doesn't mean that we don't have common interests, right? We have things that excite us the same, but they excite us differently. So it's important to stay true to who you are. In this mindset, we think about what are our unique gifts? What skills do we have? We have one of the most amazing teams by far, okay, in Plexus. And I've seen, and as I'm growing, I've worked with a lot of different teams. As I do coaching, I meet a lot of people on other teams, and they don't do the things that we do. And what I love about our team is that we are made up of different people. We've got a ton of teachers, right? But we also have people that work corporate. We have stay-at-home moms. We have work from home moms. Michelle's a therapist that works from home. We have people in the health and wellness industry, in the mindset industry. We have people that come to us with all of these different experiences and backgrounds and different passions. And they're all unique. So when we think about the 4 critical components, I want to talk about them, and then I want to give you guys some action steps on how to identify what it is that you're passionate about. So when we think about the 4 critical components, we're focusing on our strengths. We all have things that we do well. When we do what we're good at, we perform better. Excuse me 1 second. Bree, can you just take over for a minute? We're having a meltdown.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sure can. Hi, Jess. Hi, Wendy. Good morning, Lonnie. Does anybody, because I'm not going to keep going for Mina, because I want to hear what she has to say. Does anybody have any questions about, we can switch over to comp plan changes and all the stuff that's happening in June. Does anybody have anything that you're wondering, wanting to go through? We are going to on Saturday morning and then Monday night on coffee chat and on the other dive in to those things a little bit more. But if you guys have questions about that stuff, Mina's back, drop that in the chat. And then the other thing is tonight, or private message me, tonight we have our appreciation party in the Health and Happiness Lounge. And so we'll do some follow-up with that at the end of the call. You good, Mina?
I'm good, thank you. All right, so we were talking about focusing on our strengths. And I think a lot of times, I know that I go through this, I don't know if anybody else relates, but we don't know always what we're strong at. I remember talking to Bree one time, and we were talking about finding like your niche and knowing who you are. And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, yeah, you do. I was like, but I didn't know. And I really had to like think about like, okay, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I do this, I do that. But I didn't necessarily know how to like narrow it down. And that's what I think of when I think of what you're passionate about. When we talk about your niche, when we talk about your brand, those are the things that are who you are. And I think sometimes we feel so scattered, and it's really important to narrow that down. The second one is exploring your interests. I love that Wendy is an avid runner, and Wendy she shares that, right? That's in all of her reels or her posts, and you know that that's who she is, right? Bree is super passionate about, I always want to say DIY. I want to say DIY, but it's DIY. That's who she is. And people start to come to her for that because she has identified that interest and that passion. So when you think about what it is that sets your heart on fire, what is it that gets your pump going? What is it that gets you like excited? I want you to think of, when you're trying to think of this week about what is your passion, I want you to think of little Ella, who literally was jumping out of the car so excited to run to her first cheer class. That's how you identify your passion. You think about those interests. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning. I'm late.
That's,
I get a demerit.
you get a demerit. We're going to send you to the principal's office for sure. All right. The third thing is make a stand. And it talks about this idea that it's very important to play to our strengths and interests whenever possible, right? When we fit it in, when it's convenient for us. But how many times do we forget to make it a priority? And when I think of that, I think of self-care. If you are really passionate about reading and you love reading and you love to dive into a good fiction book, and I love self-help books and I read them all the time, but if you love a good fiction novel, but you've pushed it to the side because you haven't had time for it, then that needs to change. Because if that's something that's going to fuel your heart and fill your soul, then you need to make the time to do it. You need to make it a priority. Bree sets a time, I'm going to work on a DIY project. On Sundays, her and Dee, they go out and they work on different projects around their house because that is something that fills their souls. Or at least it fills Bree's. I don't know if it fills Dee's. I'll have to ask him on Sunday when I see him. So Dee, how often do you really like these DIY projects that your wife comes to you with? Make a stand for it. Give it value. Make it important in your life. Schedule it in. If you don't schedule it in, it's not going to happen. I joke all the time. I say that Ella is like the little social butterfly. We were at recital pictures on Saturday, and I kid you not, she literally was going up to every mom there. Hi, my name is Ella. I like your daughter. Can we do a play date? And she was just like, and the moms were all looking at me like, I was like, yep, she's serious. She's scheduling herself out. And she's like, all right, mommy, we're going to do this one on Saturday. And then maybe next month, mommy, can we have a play date with this one? And I was joking that she was like, I don't know, little event planner. So make a stand. Make it important. If it is important to you, if it is something that fills your soul, then make it a priority. The last critical component with passion first is to be authentic. We hear that word a lot. Be authentic. Great dreams start from within. For me, to do a DIY project would not be my passion. I'm the one that says, nope, I'm going to hire somebody to do it, or I'm going to buy it already done. Larry and I were watching a few weeks ago one of those DIY shows, and I was just like, that is super cool. The end, I love to see the end of how they remodel the house or whatever, but the process is nothing for me. So for me to try to do, I don't even like to, I remember years ago, it's in storage now, but I have a podium in my classroom, okay? It's an old restaurant hostess stand. All right, this sucker is huge. Like, people could preach from this thing. That's how big this is. And I will never forget, it still looks like a hostess stand. The only difference is I put a teacher poster on the front part to cover the restaurant logo. And I remember one of the school secretaries was in my room one day, and she was looking at it. She goes, you know, Mina, this would be great if you like sanded this down and you put like chalk paint on it and like you wrote like a daily. I said, that would be great. You should do that for me. No, Mina, you should do it. Just take it home and you could. I was like, no, that is not my passion. I'll have Bree do it because that would probably excite her. That wouldn't be being authentic to myself. They say that the fulfillment of all great dreams involves a combination of performance and persistence. Being true to who you are. So I want to spend the last few minutes or so, and I want to talk about 7 questions to identify what you're passionate about. Because it's real easy to say, okay, these are the 4 components. This is what we've got to do to make passion first. But how do I figure out what my passion is? Maybe you're like I was with Bree, and you're like, I don't know. And that's okay. So here's the first one, and I love this. This actually comes from a blog. This actually comes from a blog that I found, and I loved how she words it. So I'm kind of going to read from it. All right, the first one, what makes you forget to eat and pee? In other words, what do you get so lost in that you lose track of time? And teaching doesn't count, Ashley, because I know we teachers can suddenly forget to eat and pee because we're making copies and doing all the things, and suddenly prep is not long enough.
It's great
What?
for intermittent fasting.
What?
I said it's great for intermittent fasting.
And I find with intermittent fasting, like I'm going longer. And so like the other day I was like, wow, it was like 2:30 and I hadn't eaten yet and I wasn't hungry and I was just really drinking a lot of water. And I was like, this is great. If I was in the classroom, I'd have like 2 extra periods. So it says often the answer to this question comes in the form of a hobby or activity. It doesn't have to be something that we're currently doing. It could be something we did in a previous job before we had kids. Think about something that you can do for hours, that when you look at the clock, you can't believe how much time has passed. Bree, I don't know if watching reels counts. She says, for me, the answer to this question was creating. Creating in the form of PowerPoint presentations, writing articles, making flyers, documents, posters, anything that tapped my creative side and put ideas to paper. I 100% connected to that because I literally, like, teachers would come to me and ask me to make PowerPoint presentations for their lessons because I loved doing that stuff. I loved making them animated and words flying in and words. We don't even use PowerPoint anymore. Now everything is Google Slides, but I loved doing that stuff. And I would, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's 10 o'clock at night and I only did 1 lesson because I would get so engrossed into that PowerPoint. I love that creative end. That is something that I love doing. Making flyers, graphics, brochures, all that stuff. Find something that makes you forget to eat and pee.
Did you say NP?
Yes, ma'am. What makes you forget this? This may be before kids because, 3 kids, my bladder doesn't hold much anyway. So the second one is, what can you talk about for hours and that when you talk about it, you light up? What makes you light up? Do you guys ever watch Bree's face when she starts to talk about DIY projects? Her whole face gets excited. I want you to think about that. What makes your whole face get excited? It's a whole body reaction, right? When that whole body reaction kicks in, that is something that you are passionate about. It says the answer to this question is a huge hint about what excites us. We often think about our passions as what wakes us up in the morning, but I like to think about passion as what wakes up our souls. This could be something you like to teach others, a topic you enjoy debating, or something you continuously research or read about. She mentions she could talk, and I'll drop this in the May chat too, so you guys can read up on this, but she talks about, she's really passionate about personal strengths. I thought about the Enneagram when I thought about that. All right, the third one is, what did you love to do as a child? This was one of my favorite questions because the answers are so surprising and so different for everyone. We've all experienced our childhood differently. And I love this question because when I think about childhood, I think about innocence, right? If you can, drop in the chat, what was some of the activities that you loved to do as a child? For me, it was swimming. I loved swimming. I would literally, from like Memorial Day to Labor Day, you couldn't get me out of the pool. I lived at the pool. I lived in a bathing suit. The minute I was old enough, I became a lifeguard. And then I started teaching other kids how to swim. And then I became a pool manager and I started managing other lifeguards. That was like, I lived for the summer and to guard and to be at the pool. What was something when you were a kid that you, I have to open up the chat now because I can't see what Bree just wrote, so nobody will be shocked. Yes, no one will be shocked, but I used to change my room at my parents' house around like it was my job. My mom legit told me I was going to ruin my carpet. I love that, Bree. All right, so thinking about what you loved as a child. Number 4, if you could remember for 3 things, if you could be remembered for 3 things after you die, what would they be? What do you want somebody to say she loved bop, bop, bop? Bree was always doing this, this, this. Ashley, oh my gosh, she just loved to. What are those 3 things that somebody is going to talk about you? Those are your passions. Ashley, can I shout out, Ashley, what we talked about in Outer Banks, what one of your passions is? Is that public? Okay. So Ashley shared with me, and I was shocked. I had no idea. Ashley is a dancer. She danced all through her childhood. I think you said you competed too, right, Ash? You did not, or you did?
I didn't compete. I danced through college, though.
Okay. So she was a dancer. We were talking about my daughter being a dancer. My daughter wants to go to college for dance. She wants to own her own dance company at some point when she's an adult. Like, that is her dream. That's what she's passionate about. That's what Ashley was passionate about. I had no idea. And Ashley, if you guys don't know, Ashley has some amazing pictures, and I'm sure she would love to send your way. She has some amazing pictures because now she found a company in her area for adult dancing. And so she's able to live out that passion. And let me tell you, when she was telling me this, remember we talked about that whole body, your whole body from your head to your toes gets excited? Her whole body language changed. She was super excited about this. It lit that bottom part of your belly. Her bottom part of her belly, I bet, was on fire as she was sharing this with me because she was so passionate about it. So when you think about your passions, you think about that. Number 5, if you were financially secure, what would you do with your time? If finances were no issue, what would you do with your time? And I want you to think about that. And we talked a month or so ago about our vision boards, and your vision board really is some of the things that you're passionate about, right? Those are things that you want to become a reality. I'm passionate about travel. I love to travel. I love to be home, but I love to leave home. I love to go out and explore. Bree and I were talking yesterday about like some possible road trips for this summer that I may do. Because I've just got this, like, I need to travel. I even did a post about it the other day. What are some local road trip ideas for my kids? So if finances were not an issue for you, what would you want to do with your time? Number 6 is, what is working well for you in your current life and career? What do you find fulfilling, meaningful, enjoyable, and important? So I want to read a little bit about this one because that one's a lot compacted into one. It says the last few questions are helpful because they allow us to assess our current situation and surroundings. When you think about what around you gives you meaning, gives you purpose, do you find enjoyable? Not all aspects of our lives need to be changed, nor do we need to change something every year. These questions help us discover what we want more in our lives, or at least the pieces that we want to keep intact. If you wake up, and when I read those questions to you, if you realize that there's nothing in your current environment that is working for you, that is giving you fulfilling and meaningful and enjoyment, then you need to change something about your environment. Because maybe that's why you're stagnant. If you're not surrounding yourself with what sets your whole on fire. If you're not surrounding yourself with what sets your heart on fire and puts that fire that in your belly, then you need to move some things out and allow some other things to come in to reignite that passion. Maybe your passion isn't the same as when you were a child. My passion anymore is not swimming. Do I love being at the pool? Yes. But is that like from Memorial Day to Labor Day, am I like at the pool 24/7 anymore? No. But when I think about that, I think about how did I feel when I was a little girl and Memorial Day hit and the pool opened up. That's what I want you to think about. The last one is what.
Wait, Mina,
Yes.
Mrs. Luke, what is the second half of that question?
I'm going to
I
drop
had-
the blog into the May chat, but it was, what is working well for you in your current career in life? In other words, you're taking an assessment of what is working and what isn't and what do you need to change when you're thinking about your passions. Because if you're feeling stagnant, then maybe your environment is draining you. I worked for years in a district. I love teaching. Teaching sets my heart on fire. I told Bree, I was like, I absolutely was honored and excited when she asked me to take over a day because I love doing this. But I was in a district where I was drained every single day. I was coming home. I kid you not. I think the last year I was there, or the year before the last year I was there, the first day of school, I came home and I fell into my mom's arms and I cried because I had such a horrible day. And that was almost every day at that district. It was draining. So it wasn't working for me anymore. And something had to change. And the next year was when I left. So my passion was teaching. That didn't change. But I had to change the environment because I wasn't able to really thrive. And goes into the last one. What isn't working for you? What drains you, makes you stressed, or waste your time? This final question helps us determine what we want less in our lives or what we want to get rid of altogether. When we feel stuck or unhappy, it helps to think about how much time we spend on activities that we don't enjoy, and if we're willing to take that with us in the future. She shares here that her commute was the biggest waste of her time, and the aspect of her job drained her the most. Even though I listened to podcasts and audiobooks, I always felt like I could do so much more with that time and be more productive. I knew I didn't want to have a long commute in my future. She ends it there, but I'm going to assume that she changed it if that's what she's sharing. For me, I changed my job. I had to get out. I was there for almost 10 years. And it literally drained every part of my soul. So this week, I want you to think about, and I'll drop those questions, this blog, into the May chat, but I want you to think about that. What are your passions? What sets your heart on fire? All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for today, for your IPAs. You're inviting to your current people. You've been reaching out to them, loving on them all month long. Reach out to them now and tell them that we're having a party to celebrate them. Okay. I took part of the post that Bree, and I can send it to you guys, but I took part of that post that Bree did in the team page and I tweaked it to make it into a message. And I sent that out to people that I haven't heard from, that haven't ordered in a while, that I haven't talked to in a while, other than sending them voice messages or the cards. And I invited them to that event. Okay, I said, listen, we're doing a party to celebrate you. I know you haven't ordered in a while. That's okay. We still want to celebrate you. Can I tag you in the first post? All right. Anybody have any questions? I'm sorry, we kind of ran over. Questions, thoughts, anything you want to share? All right.
I just will tell you, you rocked it again, even though I was late and missed some of it, but I will listen to the recording. But you rocked it. The information was amazing.
You're going to have to stay after for detention, Miss Terry, and we're going to have to talk about this.
Well, if detention will be with you,
I
my
don't
dear.
care. I don't care if you're late Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday, but Thursdays, never.
Haha. Well, if detention is spent with you, my dear, I would love to spend
I'm going to make your
detention.
detention in New Jersey, the land where you can't make left turns.
I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to be on my way to Jersey today to spend a week with my sister.
Oh, that's right. Let me stop recording.